Guys, welcome to today's video. I'm really excited to share this with you, and if you have any questions regarding university, specifically in South Africa, please leave them in the comments below. So first I'm going to introduce myself. Who am I? So I am a second year mechanical engineering student studying at the University of the Witwatersrand. I graduated or matriculated 2 years ago in 2018, and I had 7 distinctions, so 7 A's and 1 B. Today I'm making this video particularly for students who are searching the internet or searching YouTube, and you are really in need of help of how to apply to university in South Africa, or any tips and guidance that you might need. And I'm specifically making this because when I was in matric, I definitely needed help, and I went onto the internet searching and I could not find anything. So hopefully this video helps you, and without blabbering any longer, let's get into it. So the first thing I'm going to talk about is the application process. So I assume you already know what courses you're going to apply for, and if you don't, I suggest you start looking at them. Figure out as early as grade 10 what you're going to apply for, and then in grade 11 I think you start applying. So definitely make sure you know what you're applying for. If you don't know and you need help, go to the website. So for instance, literally search up wits and courses you might want. So for instance, if you're into engineering, search up wits engineering and whichever university, and I'm pretty sure most of the websites have a full description, and they'll literally have things like the syllabus and stuff, so you can actually see what you're interested in and then make a selection process from there. So assuming you already have that done, let's get into how you apply. So the first thing I would suggest from my experience is definitely get a file or a flip file, or create a drive on your laptop, or any sort of thing you can have to keep on adding information and tracking. So if you are applying to more than one university, have a file and then literally make sections for each university. So we're going to take my situation, and I'm going to literally just list what I did. So for instance, I was applying to WITS, I was applying to UKZN, and let's say UP. So when you do apply for these different universities, you're required to set up a application process, or kind of like registering, like how you would register for a social media account for each of these. So that means you're going to get a username and a password for each of these things, and that's why I'm suggesting get a file, because you're going to have a username and a password which you're going to literally use to keep on logging into these sites to check your application, your status, or any communication. So depending on how many universities you're applying to, I can guarantee you're going to not remember these offhand. And you're also going to probably get a student number assigned to you by these universities. So if you get a flip file and you create sections for each of these, you can have 1, 2, 3, one for WITS, one for UKZN, and one for UP. So that is the first step. The second thing I want to talk about is documents. Universities are going to ask you for many documents, and you need to have them ready. So if I can remember offhand, you most definitely would need your grade 11 results, report results, or depending on when you're applying, your latest report. You're definitely going to require an ID certificate. You're going to either have this certified, so I'm just going to say certified, depending on what the university wants, but I suggest getting all these documents so you know. Most universities, depending again on what course you're applying for, would usually want a letter of recommendation or motivation letter, whatever you want to call it. So when you do get all these documents in order, and if you have a file, for instance, I would suggest literally creating a section called documents and put in all these documents. And when you're creating copies of these documents, definitely create more than at least 5, depending again on how many universities you're applying to. And again, if you do have an electronic copy or a file on your laptop that you're updating, I would suggest maybe get a drive folder, a Google Drive folder on your laptop, because it's reliable. It saves automatically each time you update it, so that would be useful. The third thing I want to talk about is communication. This is vital because this is how the university is going to speak to you and update you on how your application process is going, I would definitely say get a reliable email if you do not have one already, because you're going to constantly be getting emails from the university and you really don't want to miss any of these. I also do want to emphasize on provisional acceptance. So provisional acceptance, if you do not know what it is, it's basically like a temporary acceptance, that to say that you are accepted into the university based on the results you've already uploaded. And this is usually in the late parts of your matric year, so kind of like September or later. And this does not mean that you are accepted and it is finalized. It just means that you have a spot there that is temporary, but you have to keep up with your results in order to guarantee that spot. Provisional acceptance is extremely important, especially if you're going for things like health sciences, medicine, etc., because the university keeps that spot for you and then you literally just have to keep up with your results. So definitely work really, really hard into getting this provisional acceptance. And again, this ties into communication, because this is how they will communicate to tell you you've been accepted. On this point, I may want to stress getting a reliable PDF reader on your laptop or phone or wherever you are viewing your emails. So something like Adobe Acrobat. This is reliable for reading PDFs, and this is important because when the university emails you, they're going to use PDFs. The fourth thing I want to speak about, and I think this has been so underrated, I should have put this as first, is NBTs. So if you're like me and you're moving out of a province, you are definitely required to write an NBT. So if you do not know what an NBT is, it's basically a benchmark test for students who are leaving the province and going to university outside of their province. Definitely check again your requirements of the course you are applying for to see whether they require you to write the NBT. NBT is made up of AQL, which is an English component, and a math, which is the maths component. And there are specific dates that you need to book for this. So NBT is a whole subject to talk about, and if you want to know more about this, then leave it in the comments below with a question and I would try to respond to it. But in a nutshell, number one, make sure you check your dates. Book your date on time. I know many people who miss the date and they missed the location they were looking for, so they either ended up writing really late or they had to travel really far to write in a specific place. Number two is definitely prepare in advance. I took this for granted and I thought the NBT would be like our usual exams in school. It is not. You need to prepare for the NBT because it is university standard. And now that's not to scare you, but it's just to tell you that it's not the usual tests we are used to. And as school-going children, we're definitely used to our comfort zone in the papers we have at school. But the NBT is not like that. It is multiple choice and it will definitely test you if you do not prepare for it. Number three is the NBT has time constraints and has a lot of rules that you need to check up online. And you should definitely go and read up on the extensive documents on this, because if you do not know what you're going in for, you're going to be surprised. Lastly, I want to talk about accepting an offer. So this would be in the late year when you do get an acceptance or you're uncertain about what's going to happen. And I'm specifically putting in this point because this happened to me and it was kind of confusing because I didn't know what to expect. But basically, the first thing I want to say is do not panic. People tend to panic on the day of results, thinking that they were not accepted, So do not panic, because usually universities only release a final decision maybe up to even a week after results, so don't get excited. The second thing is definitely make sure you have working communication. Again, an email, an SMS. Remember what you signed up for when you created your accounts, because this is how universities will usually communicate. Number three is each university is unique. So for instance, I will give an example. UKZN gives you an offer which is only valid for a certain amount of time. So it's only valid for a certain period. And they also require you, I think, if I remember correctly, to pay a fee in order to accept it. And if you don't accept it within like 3 days, then the offer gets taken away. So definitely look at those things as well. And also I want to mention here that I got a provisional acceptance for mechanical engineering at UKZN, but because I did not accept it, one of the conditions was that the offer would be withdrawn. And for that reason, I did not get accepted in the final because I did not accept provisional. So things like this are really important, and it's usually put in bold print, so definitely pay attention. But things like wits, so for instance, wits accepted me, I think, on the first day. I think it was even before results were out, and there was no conditions like this. So pay attention to what university specifics are. So without making this video any longer, I think these were the most important things I could think of. If you have further questions, definitely leave them in the comments and I would create a video answering your questions. If you have questions related to matric preparation or even exam topics that you might need help with or any tips, leave them in the comments and I will try my best to answer them. And thank you so much for watching this video, and I really hope that your exams go well, and I'm sure if you prepare you will not be surprised.